Hey, good evening, and welcome to the Power of Now. I'm Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren.
And together we are here tonight to talk about Inside Outside on Wellness Wednesday, meaning that no matter what you're doing, be health conscious about it inside, in your home, internally, and outside, in your garden, in nature. Coach Darren, our certified health and wellness coach, he's going to go over a little bit about what you see in front of you tonight, and then I'll talk about a delicious, healthier option for fried chicken.
Okay, and then I'll follow up with our gardening tips, for things that you can do indoors right now as we prepare for the growing season. And then you could transition to outdoors, or this is also something that could apply to those who just want to do an indoor garden. And we'll be following up next week on Monday with more. I'm actually going to do a session on getting your seeds together. All right? But what you see in front of you is raw oysters, raw mushrooms.
Right. Well, they're
oyster mushrooms.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And then you see a delicious dish here, which Coach Mitchell will go over with you. But just talking about the mushrooms, for those in the health and wellness space, or maybe in nature, you notice that mushrooms are really gaining a lot of attention now. And it's not the first time, but this time we're talking more about all the health benefits, not just from consumption of like eating them, adding to your diet, but also truly from a medicinal perspective. And we all know mushrooms, are also something that people used to consume, as a psychedelic. All right, so you got to be careful. You can't just go eat any old mushrooms. But the thing that's unique about mushrooms is they're not a fruit, nor they're not a vegetable. They actually have their own category, which is called fungi. Mm-hmm. But they do have a lot of health benefits. If you ever get a chance, every once in a while you can find, on one of the streaming platforms, something called Fantastic Fungi, I think is the name of it. And I'm telling you, when you see the different types of mushrooms and the colors, it is unbelievable. We're so used to this kind of drabby color mushroom, but they actually come in all colors and sizes, and they just look beautiful, right? So you might want to check them out. But I just want to turn it over to Coach Mitchell to now talk about this awesome recipe, and I hope she hurries up because I want to eat some of those.
Well, I'm going to have you take a bite in front of the camera tonight. But anyway, we saw this actual recipe, I think it was a TikTok. And you know how TikTok, it is a platform for all things and all people. So this recipe popped up and it looks so good. And we like oyster mushrooms because they have that meaty consistency and texture. And they're really good if you're making a sauce or you're doing stir fry and you don't want the actual chicken. Oyster mushroom is perfect. Just like shiitakes are good for a beef substitute, oyster mushrooms are perfect for a chicken or even like a seafood substitute. So tonight, what I have prepared, which I am so in love with, and this is going to be a quick go-to dish in the future in my kitchen. This recipe is actually a vegan fried chicken made with oyster mushrooms. So they're really fried oyster mushrooms, but again, alternative to fried chicken. The recipe I will post on our page after the session tonight. However, I'm going to run through the ingredients really quickly. It's just like you're preparing fried chicken. You're going to have a wet batter and a dry batter. So because it is a vegan recipe, you will want to use mostly vegan ingredients. So what I have here is some cassava flour, which I use for breading. And the recipe calls for cornflakes to be incorporated in the flour mixture. However, again, you can embellish and deviate to your own tasting, to your own liking. I use Sun Chips black bean jalapeno flavored chips, and I crush those up and mix them into the flour mixture along with some onion powder, garlic powder, mixed herbs like dried Italian parsley, basil, and thyme, and oregano. I use some all-purpose vegetable seasoning, ground ginger, black pepper, and you can season with salt and pepper, maybe a teaspoon each of these ingredients to a tablespoon. But again, I'll post the recipe. And a cup of cassava flour, along with the half a cup of the crushed black bean chips, and they're by Sun Chips. So I think that's the brand, yes. Sun Chips, which again is very healthy, and they are so flavorful, and it would add so much flavor to your flour. So once you mix all of your dry ingredients together, what you want to do for your wet is you want a a plant-based milk, a half a teaspoon of lemon juice or apple cider vinegar. That is to curdle your milk. And your plant-based milk should be either almond, oat, or soy. Coconut milk doesn't curdle, so you want to use either of the three aforementioned milks so that you get the curdling component, because you want it to replicate buttermilk. And again, since it's a vegan recipe, you want to use the plant-based milk along with the apple cider vinegar and or the lemon juice. And you want to season your wet mixture as well with maybe some all-purpose seasoning or a little bit of salt and pepper. Once you do that, you want to just pat your oyster mushrooms with the damp paper towel to remove any dirt. You never want to run water over your mushrooms because mushrooms are very absorbent and they'll retain that moisture, so you don't want to wash them or submerge them in water. You just want to wipe them with the damp paper towel. You pull these apart. It's very simple. You just pull them apart to whatever size you want, because they're going to be your chicken fingers or your fried chicken wings. Just pull them apart. Place this in your wet mixture. Let it sit for maybe 5 minutes to absorb some of the flavor, so that once you put it into your flour mixture, your flour mixture adheres to it. And you want to just make sure that you're pressing the flour mixture in. You want to preheat your skillet with a neutral based oil, maybe grapeseed oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, an oil that's not going to take over or overpower the flavor of your mushrooms. You don't want to use olive oil because that will actually saturate the flavor and sort of mask the flavor of the spices as well as the oyster mushroom. Once you heat up your oil to 370 degrees, again, have a thermometer, check your oil because it needs to be the right temperature to get this beautiful golden, crispy brown crust. And I mean, this is so good. Even your kids are going to really like this. As long as you season this the same way you season your fried chicken, they're going to love this vegan dish. You don't even have to tell them. I would just spring it on them and get their feedback. See what they say once they taste it. So, Coach, let me know how you like it.
Okay, there you go.
But again, I will post the recipe. It's fried oyster mushrooms or vegan fried chicken. And can you just hold it up to the camera so they can see? It does have a meaty look to it. The texture, the consistency is very meaty. So again, if you do this right, your kids are going to probably request it, that you make it for them again. So it is really good. And I really hope you try it. I'm going to post the recipe, and I'm hoping that you come back to the page and let us know that you tried it. But again, it's really, not only does it look amazing, it also tastes amazing.
Yes, it actually tastes very good. Again, for those on a health and wellness journey, or if you're transitioning, this might be a good, start. And depending on where you are, for those of you, who may have heard before, heard me say before, as you start to progress in your health and wellness journey, you're going to tweak certain things. And one of those things might be the oils that you use. Usually when you get to a certain point on your health and wellness journey, you won't even use oil. Some people just do not use oil for actually valid reasons.
Yes.
One of them is they're actually, well, I won't say all, but they're high in calories. So if you're really concerned about your weight, you're probably going to want to stay away from oils. And there's a whole technique to cooking without oil. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that you can also bake these in the oven at 475 for about 10 minutes, but you want to monitor it because the oyster mushrooms are very delicate. And you can also pop them in the air fryer.
I was going to ask you that.
Yes, you can put them in the air fryer on air fry, 400 degrees, but you want to make sure that you're monitoring it. You're not going to cook it long, maybe a total of 8 minutes, but you want to check it. You want to check it periodically because you don't want to overcook them. You don't want to burn them because you are really trying to replicate fried chicken wings.
Right.
And these are, again, a very good alternative if you're trying to cut back on meats and if you're trying to really jumpstart your health and wellness journey with something that is palatable and simple and easy to execute.
Well, again, going back to the oils, I really just want to make one suggestion. If you do decide to fry them, I just want to say, Coach, you mentioned vegetable oil or canola oil. I myself would say don't use those oils, all right? Because they really are unhealthy. And one reason why you don't want to use your olive oil, because at high temperatures, olive oil becomes rancid, so it almost becomes, again, unhealthy. Grapeseed oil, as you mentioned, is the first one, is really probably your preferred oil in this particular case, if you're going to use oil. If you're totally against oil, and you're just at that point in your health and wellness journey, then take the other options, as Coach Mitchell said, bake them.
Yep, exactly.
Or use the air fryer.
Exactly. So thanks for pointing that out,
Yeah.
Coach. And you're absolutely right. There's a couple of factors when you're deciding which oils to use, and the high temperature being one.
Yes.
Because you want to make sure that the oil can hold the temperature, accommodate the temperature, because it has to get up to 370.
Yes. And I think olive oil might be, 350 or 400. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's not used for high temperature cooking. So just keep that in mind. But again, overall, these taste very good. And again, this is just a starting point. As Coach Mitchell said, you can tweak it to make it work for you. But it is a great substitute if you're trying to reduce the meat in your diet. Even though it's called vegan, don't let that freak you out, because people, they lose their mind when you mention the word vegan. It's just a possible substitute if you're trying to reduce the meat consumption.
Yes.
Which we know that there are health benefits to doing that. So again, give it a thought, give it a try. Like I said, I just think it's great.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, again.
Absolutely, Coach. Go right ahead and help yourself.
Geez, I think
Oh, you picked up the big one, huh?
no, didn't mean
You
to
need
do
a
that.
knife and fork with
Yeah,
that.
well, I'm gonna try my best to.
I think it's a keeper. But anyway, Coach has some other things that he wants to show you that we've started inside in preparation for our transition outside. So, Coach.
If I can just move that, and actually, can you move that as well?
I can get this out of your way.
Let's put these over here. And we're gonna put this.
So what Coach is showing you are some of our starter vegetables
Okay.
and fruit.
All right.
You can put this over
Yeah,
here.
actually, I'm just hold this like that.
Sit it here.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So, what you see here, these might look familiar because I shared these with you last week and the week before we first, started, and I just showing you the progress. Again, these are all seed starter pots. They're biodegradable. And then there's an assortment of different herbs. What I have in my hand is a tomato plant. Now, what I really want to cover tonight is just different ways to grow. And again, all this is done indoors so far because in our location we can't go, start going outdoors because of the temperature. All right, so again, in here we have an assortment of herbs, except this one right here. This right here is a lemon plant that actually was started from a seed some time ago, and this was one of the stems that survived. This was also left outside, and then I was able to save this one stem and I repotted it, and it's starting to grow again. But what you have here, again, are all herbs, which again, I think all of these seeds came from the Dollar Tree store, the pots too, and the soil. But just starting to look at the progress we have here. This one is cilantro, one of Coach Mitchell's favorites, and being a little sarcastic there.
Being very sarcastic, not a little.
All right.
I'm one of the population that their palate, as soon as the cilantro hits it, immediately it tastes like ivory soap. So I do not do cilantro.
So here we have some oregano, and again, this, at the very beginning of its growing stage, like I said, they're just starting to sprout, and these are all planted about say about a little over 2 weeks ago. And then what you have here, these are actually bell peppers. These were actually planted about 10 days ago. And you're seeing that they're starting to sprout. And what we're going to do is, once they continue to grow, they'll get transferred to bigger pots, and then they will ultimately be planted outside where they will really take off.
And these little pots are biodegradable, so you can just sit this right down in your soil.
Okay, so again, this tomato, you might remember I shared with you a tomato that started sprouting indoors. We had it in our vegetable basket and picked it up one day, and it was already starting to sprout new tomatoes, right within the tomato. So there's a term for that. It's called Viva, it's a French word, Viva Pani, depending on how you want to pronounce it. But it's Vivapany, which basically means a piece of produce, a fruit that starts to grow new fruit inside the parent fruit. All right, so here's just one, and again, we have a tray of these that are all growing. So again, all it did was the cost of the pot and some soil, planted the tomato, planted the seeds, the peppers are actually being grown from a pepper that we had. And then these are from seeds from Dollar Tree store, and they cost 25 cents a pack. So if you pull this off and and they actually grow, again, you have your own fresh herbs growing indoors for basically nothing. Over here in the jars, and I don't know if they can see that. All right. What you have in the jars are what is known as growing your produce from scraps. And last week, Coach Mitchell showed you the 2 collard greens. All right, 2 collard greens plants that she basically grew from the base of the collard green, from the root, place it in water. And then here, you'll see that we have an avocado and cabbage. Now, a lot of times we do this just as an experiment, to really see.
The avocado, you can see the root. Let me just pick it up real quick. You can see the root that is beginning to sprout out of the avocado. So can't wait to see that.
Right, like I said, we grew one once before, actually had a plant. It never got to the point of producing fruit. But again, this is a great exercise to do with your children, in terms of reconnecting them to nature. So you have, a way of going from seeds, a way of going from what we call scraps, or the part of produce that you normally throw away. We have several of these different types of plants that we've been experimenting with. Mm-hmm. Then we have another technique, which is just propagating, where you grow another, another plant from the original plant, usually by just snipping off one part of the plant. All right, and we'll cover that at a later time. So really just, again, want to cover ways to get started. And there's, again, a little bit of a technique to this, especially when it comes to doing your seeds indoors, which we'll cover on Monday. But for here, for things like, growing in water or from scratch, you will see it's just placing it in water. Because that's really all you need. Even though we tend to grow in soil, to get a seed started, all it needs is water. So you could really germinate seeds by just placing them in water in the right temperature, for the most part. I think maybe there might be seeds that require soil. But to my knowledge, I believe all seeds you can germinate just in water, even though we use soil. Now, that's that. And then what I have here is, again, starting from the beginning. You might not be able to see this, but these are flax seeds and chia seeds.
And chia seeds.
All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start these, all right, either tonight or tomorrow, and hopefully by next week you'll see some growth. And again, simple things like we normally consume these seeds, usually in your smoothies, or you might add them to your recipe. But you can also grow plants and then add it, the actual plant to your diet, either as a microgreen or as a sprout. So we're going to, plant those, quote unquote, say plant, but I'm gonna start these, tonight or tomorrow, and then hopefully by next week we'll have something to show you. Okay? And that's it. Oh, and just one, I would say two questions I just want to share with you that people normally ask is, one, you don't see it, it's really off camera. We have a bowl where we're cleaning our grapes. We clean all of our produce in a simple solution of baking soda and water. Now, most people will combine baking soda and vinegar, but here's the catch. When you combine those two, they cancel each other out. Anybody who might remember from an old chemistry class, they will cancel, because one's acidic and one's alkaline. So you really need one or the other. And they, to my knowledge, and I would say to my knowledge, because our knowledge is only as good as our source. So based on what I've learned, baking soda is the winner over vinegar. So, and then I just recently learned, I have not tried it yet, that lime is even better than baking soda. So, lime juice or lime spray, and lime from the produce. Just want to share that. But if you're going to use baking soda, just use 2 teaspoons of baking soda per cup of water, and soak your produce in there. You want to splash it around a little bit and just let it soak about 15 minutes, and that will help remove most of the pesticides. If you're looking for 100% absolute guarantee, either grow it yourself or give up on it. Because as again, someone asked me, well, how do you know? And I had to be honest with them, I don't know, because I'm not there on the supply chain. I'm only basing my knowledge on what I'm being told, like things like organic or inorganic, or non-organic. So don't trip on looking for, perfection. You make decisions to the best of your ability. So there's how you clean your produce, there's ways of growing it, and I truly, highly recommend it. You start growing however you can, whatever little you can, because there's a narrative coming out now, and if you see it, you really, I'm gonna say ignore it, because I don't think it's true. But they're now trying to say that you have a larger footprint, carbon footprint, for people who are growing their own food. Urban, gardens, as they call them, are creating more of a problem to the climate. So they go into details. I think it's just a narrative to try to get people not to grow their own food. So
take it with a grain of salt.
Yes. So, if there's any questions, you know how to reach us. But again, tonight we showed you something inside and then something outside, which is still inside right now, but you get the point. And like I said, we're going to keep taking you on this journey. And I will post the link to my session on Monday for those who want to really get started with seeds to get their garden started. All right, that's it for me, Coach Mitchell.
All right. I really hope you try the recipe that I will post on the page. And I just want to acknowledge that the recipe, the base of the recipe that I used was from a website called Joyful Dumplings, vegan recipes. So I just wanted to acknowledge that the basis of my fried vegan chicken is from Joyful, what was that? Joyful Dumplings. Joyful Dumplings. I really hope you try it. Trust me, I believe you're going to enjoy it. I believe your kids are going to enjoy it. Drop a line on the Facebook group and let me know if you try it and how you like it. And maybe how you may have embellished it for yourself.
Yes.
All right, so, Coach.
All right. So you remember, these are all awareness sessions to get you started, but then you take it and then you run with it and create your own.
Absolutely. And we're bringing you practical solutions in a very organic way, a way that is easily communicated, hopefully interpreted, and you're able to comprehend it and incorporate some of these tips into your journey of health and wellness. I'm Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren.
And remember, if you do not start now, there can be no next. Join us next Tuesday night at 8 p.m. where we will be bringing you hopefully an exciting topic on something that is purposeful and useful in your life.
Yes.
And you have a session Monday at?
Yes. It's going to be at 8 o'clock.
At 8?
Yes. I'm going to send out the link. The link will be posted on the page along with the home page that you can get more information.
Okay. So with that, have a great night.